Hi everyone, my name is Ray, and today we are going to learn how to draw a seahorse. When I like to teach people how to draw, I like to show everyone how to do it both in sketch and then final draft. So we're not going to just go in with markers, we're going to get our preliminaries in place first. I have two different colors of pencil crayon. I'm going to be using my red one for the preliminary and then the blue one to solidify my outline. You'll notice on my paper I have an outline of tape. This is taped down to an 8x10 size from an 11x14 paper, and I've done this because I actually want to go in here after the sketch and I'm going to paint this, and I want to paint this with acrylics. I'm using a mixed media paper, but if you only have regular paper at home and you just want to do the drawing, that's okay too. If you want to paint this eventually, try sketching it out on a canvas or on mixed media paper or canvas paper, whatever it is that you have at home. So looking at the two pencil crayons, we are going to start, well, I'm going to start with the red one. You're going to do something called a sketcher's hold. The sketcher's hold has us putting 4 fingers with the pads of our fingers right against the edge of your pencil crayon. Your thumb is going to go underneath, right underneath your middle finger, or between your middle finger and index fingers. So it's all dependent on how comfortable you are and where you're comfortable holding on to your pencil crayon. We're going to hold it so that our top of our hand is pointed toward the sky, and our open part of our palm is going to go down towards the paper. When we do our preliminary outlines, we want to hold it this way. That way not a lot of graphite's going to go onto the paper. That way if we don't like it, we can erase it. Obviously I'm using pencil crayon, I can't really erase it, but I'm going to paint over it anyway, and there's no such thing as a mistake in art. So if you don't like it, we'll just paint over it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is going to be a circle. This circle is going to help us identify where we want to see the head of our seahorse. Make an oval, and this oval is going to lead us down into the snout. The snout is a rectangle shape. Now, it's up to you how long or short you want to make this. What does your seahorse look like? So right now, we've added in a circle, an oval, which is a circle that's been squished, and then we came over and added in a very long rectangle. And again, if we don't like it, we can always erase it or paint over it or draw over it later on. Okay, inside this oval, we are going to make a circle. This is going to become the eye. Next up, we're going to swing over and we're going to create an S shape. You're going to start at the top of the head, and I want you to extend it out away from the circle. We're going to come down. This is the back of our seahorse. And then you're going to swing it out to bring us to the tail. Now, it's up to you how you want to do the tail. I like to curl mine. So we have this S in place. And then we have this curl of our tail right in here. Now, this is just preliminary. We can absolutely change our design later on. Next up, we're going to come in just underneath the head, and we're going to make another curve. This is going to bring us down towards the belly. Now, how wide you want this to be is up to you. Is your seahorse male or female? Is the male going to be pregnant or not? Because I actually just found out not too long ago, I went to the aquarium. Apparently the males get pregnant. I did not know that. That was actually pretty interesting information. If you didn't know that, drop a little comment down into the comment section and let me know. Or if you know that already and you actually know a little bit more about seahorses, I'd love to learn more. So drop it down into the comments and let me know. So this is the very beginning, and we can see our seahorse begin to take shape. Okay, now the cool thing about seahorses, they have these really cute little tiny fins at the back. So we're gonna add that in. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna pull it out with diagonal lines. And then we're just gonna slope it on the edges, kind of curling that in, okay? So this is our preliminary. Now we're gonna come in and we're gonna put the actual shape in. So that was our sketcher's hold. We had 4 fingers on top, thumb underneath, our top of our hand pointed to the sky so that we could sketch it out. Now, I'm gonna come over with my blue, and this one we're gonna do the writer's hold. So for the writer's hold, do you hold it with 1 finger on top, 2 fingers on top, 3 fingers on top? Do you do the claw grasp, or do you hold yours like Taylor Swift? How do you hold a pencil? However you hold a pencil is completely up to you, and I want you to hold your pencil the way you feel most comfortable. I like to hold mine with 1 finger on top, depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I might do 2 if I'm doing very fine details. So what I'm gonna do right now is just kind of solidify my outline, and you can see the difference in the value between the lighter red that I applied and the blue that I'm coming over with now. So I'm first gonna go in and solidify the back of my seahorse. I don't want to forget about their adorable little fin. I want this placed. And now when I close this off, it's not the preliminary anymore. So we need to solidify our outline. And there's this little wiggle that happens to the fin on the exterior, okay? Now the head, they do have these little bumps and ridges. So I'm gonna add in a little bit of that and then sloping it down towards the eye. Now when I come into the eye over here, they have the center part here for the actual eye itself, and then there's this little bit of skin that comes around the eye here, okay? Just like that. And then there are these lines in here that are gonna lead towards the center part. Seahorses are pretty cool when you think about it. I've seen just a few of them in person, and I just find them absolutely fascinating. Okay, so now that we've got the back of the head coming towards the back and the fin done, we've done the forehead, moved into the eye, we're gonna slope in to the snout, and they have a little bit of a curve here and then a pointedness to the edge of the snout. We're gonna bring that in, drop it down to the lower part of the face. Now we're gonna bring this right over back to the head. There we are. Okay, underneath the eye with a little bit of a curve just on the underside. So we had that oval in place where we fit the eye, and then we're just gonna slope in along that oval, which is gonna lead us to the circle. And then at the circle, we're gonna follow that over again with that little bit of a bump. And then we're going to bring it down. Now, before you come too far down in here, I want you to pause, because we're actually gonna come in and they have tons of ridging on the body, and we're going to include that. And this is how we're gonna do it. So we're gonna come from the side over here, and we are going to swing from one side to the other. Make sure you come just a little bit outside of the belly. And we're going to slope it again. When you do this, I want this part to be wider than this part. So eventually, if these lines continued, they would taper, which means that they join together. But we're not gonna do that. We're gonna stop at the edge of your seahorse. Then we're gonna come back down and we're gonna do it again. And we're gonna do this quite a few times. And it even goes along the edge of the fin. And now how many you want to do here, that's up to you, because one thing that I noticed when I was going through to look at the different pictures of seahorses for reference, some had a lot of this ridging and some only had a little bit of this ridging. So I'm going to say to leave this into your creative mind. What do you want to do for yours? Then we're going to come in, we're going to connect these together with a little curve. So come in and out, in and out, in and out, all the way and down. You'll notice that I actually stopped here before I came down towards the tail. I didn't want to do that part yet because it doesn't have the ridging, okay? The one part that does have the ridging when we come a little bit further down is actually on the back side of the tail. So the ridging actually changes direction and goes to the other side. So that's on the other side right by the fin. So we're gonna come over to add in these little curves again. These are gonna be a little bit more even. And how many you do, again, is absolutely up to you. There we go. I'm actually gonna do this straight over to the beginning parts of the curvature of the tail, I think. I'm actually gonna bring it right over. Okay. Now, the underside, nice and smooth. Think of the underbelly of like a dragon or something. So nice and smooth. But on the other side, we're gonna add in this ridging. And you can see as we do this extra solidified line, we are following the preliminary path that we sketched out at the beginning. Now I used red, maybe you just use pencils and that's completely fine, but I want you to make sure when you're doing your preliminaries that you are very gentle with the amount of pressure you're applying, because if you don't like it, we need to have a way to erase it. Okay, curling it in. And there we go. And I'm gonna add a little bit more, I think. All right, now that I've done that, I'm gonna come over here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of line work for the rest of my seahorse. And then coming in to do the side of the face. When we do the side of the face, I want you to look at that initial circle that we did at the very beginning of our drawing. This circle that we did is also the main part of the face. So we need to show where that ends and where the body begins. We're gonna come just in here a little bit. We're gonna cut off the side of that circle and slope it back towards the cheek. And then when you're coming in to either draw it or paint it, you want to have this section in here nice and dark, and the value on this side is going to be a little bit brighter. This is going to show that it's popping forward. Next up, we're going to curve in to do some center lines. And we're just going to very slowly, really gently guide it along, just like so. And where they meet, we just want to thicken that up a little bit. Make that a little bit darker. And you can see in here, because we're making this little corner here darker, it's giving the illusion of ridging, which is really an interesting little point that a lot of seahorses have. Okay, coming from up here, we're gonna come up and swing it over. Now I'm drawing this seahorse as my first tutorial because one of my students really wanted to have a seahorse outline. Just because one of my students asked if I could. And I honestly love seahorses. I've only drawn them a few times. So I was more than happy to offer to do that for her. I'm really new to YouTube. This is the first tutorial that I've ever made for my studio. So if you guys have a specific tutorial that you would like to learn, a specific animal or a flower or anything like that, even to do some kind of like a scene, like a nature scene, please drop it down into the comments or send me an email if you don't want to do a comment. Some people don't feel super comfortable with that, and that's all right. Just drop it down into the comments or send me a message and I'll make sure that I make a tutorial for you. Okay, I'm gonna add in a little curve in here to finish off the outline. And there we have our little seahorse. Now, it is completely up to you what you want to do next. Maybe you want to come in and add a little bit of bubbles. Maybe you want to add a little turtle in here or an extra couple baby seahorses or some seaweed, which would be really cool. So I want you to take this and I want you to run with it or swim with it if you'd rather. But I want you to be as creative and as colorful as you want to be. Okay, so that's it for the tutorial for the drawing. If you want to turn this into a painting, that's the next video in the series. So it's going to be uploaded in a couple of days. If you want to follow along with that, you are more than welcome to do. Okay, so thank you guys so much for following along. I hope you had fun. And as always, I want you to be kind and stay colorful. And my printer just finally decided that it wanted to work. We're going to wait for that to finish, which is great because I think I need a moment. You'd think I'd be a little bit more comfortable teaching by now because I've been teaching for a really long time, but doing this on the screen is actually a little intimidating. I want you to pause.